All right, today we are going to focus on slope and use that to write equations for our lines. And the form we're going to use is y equals mx plus b. So to get started, we're going to look at this graph here. We've got 2 points on this graph. The first question just says, what are the coordinates of the points shown here? So if I go up to this one up here, the coordinates for that are -2 for the x and 3 for the y. Down here I look, I've got 1 for the x and -3 for the y. Okay, so our coordinates are -2, 3, and 1, -3. Okay, next question says, what is the vertical change in y for the 2 points? Okay, is the change represented by a positive or negative value? So if I look to go from this point, the -2, 3, down to the point 1, -3, just going vertical, I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get at that same level. So I went down 6, so that's a -6. Okay? So that's -6, and again, that's because you're going down. Down 6. The next part there says, what is the horizontal change in x for the 2 points? So now to go from -2, 3 over to 1, -3, I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3. Now I went 3 to the right, so that is a +3. Okay, and again, that's because we went to the right. If you would go to the left, then it would be negative. Okay, so the next one there, what is the slope of the line that passes through the 2 points? Well, remember, slope is rise over run. So my rise was -6 because I went down. Our run was 3. If we do -6 divided by 3, we get 2. Okay? Now the other way that we can get slope is by using our 2 points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this first point, I'm going to call this x1 and this y1. And this point we're going to call this x2 and this y2, the -3y2. So the other way to get slope, remember slope is our m, so I'm just going to put m here instead of slope, is to take y2 minus y1 and divide that by x2 minus x1. So when I do that, here's what happens. y2 is -3. If I take that minus y1, which is 3, and then my x2 is 1, and I'm going to take that minus -2, which is my x1. Well, -3 minus 3 is -6. 1 minus -2. Now remember, when you do minus a negative, you can change that to plus a positive. So it's really 1 plus 2, which is 3. Now if you notice, I got -6 over 3, just like I did by counting on the graph. -6 divided by 3 is -2. Okay? So now if we look at the last question here, y equals mx plus b. Fill in as much as we can. What do we still need? Okay? So if I have y equals mx plus b, I know 2 y's, I know 2 x's, I know an m. So for my x's and y's, I just need to pick one of the points. So I'm going to pick the point -2, 3. Now remember that the -2 is your x, the 3 is your y. So I'm going to take the 3 and put it in there for y. Okay, for m, we found our m to be -2. So I'm going to take that -2 and I'm going to put it in there for m. X, we've got an x right here. That's -2. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that in for x. Okay? And then I don't know b yet. Okay? So plus b. So what do I still need? I still need b, which again is the y-intercept. Okay, so moving on to the next one here. What are the coordinates of one of the points on the line? Okay, so I already, if we go back here, I already picked this. X is -2. I already picked -2, 3 for my point. Okay, again, x is the -2, y is the 3. So they already put the m in here for the -2, so now I'm going to put the 3 in here for y. I'm going to put the -2 in for x. And we're going to solve for b. So -2 times -2 is +4. So now to solve for b here, I just need to subtract this 4. 3 minus 4 is -1. There's my b. So now the equation, when I write the equation, I'm just substituting in the m and the b to write my equation. So remember, we're using y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, b is the y-intercept. So it's going to be y equals, our m is -2, x, and our b is -1. So y equals -2x minus 1 is our equation for that line. That would go between those, that would go through those 2 points. All right, so on this one, now we're going to draw a line between these 2 points. And actually, we'll go right through it. Okay, and if you notice here, where does the line intersect the y-axis? Well, it intersects the y-axis right here at -1. So it intersects it at 0, -1. Okay? Does the y-intercept of the graph match the value that you found algebraically? Yes, it does. Okay? Again, remember, when x is 0, whatever the y value is, that is your y-intercept. Okay, so since it's 0, -1, the y-intercept is -1, which means b equals -1. All right, moving on here. Just a reminder too, if you need to pause at any time to make sure you get all the notes, make sure you go ahead and do that. Okay, on example 1 here, I just want to call your attention to the third one here, the y equals 5x. If you notice, I put on there +0, because that one, the y-intercept would be 0. Okay, so that's just a reminder there. If you just have y equals something x, the y-intercept is really 0. You can just do +0. You can look at those other 2 examples as well. On this example, just wanted to point out the formula for slope. Remember, slope is rise over run. That's the change in y over the change in x. And we now have this formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When we look at example 2, what I want to point out there is what I underlined. If you have a positive slope, as you move from left to right, the line is going to go up. So as you go from left to right, the line is going to go up. That is a positive slope. On the other hand, if you have a negative slope, as you move from left to right, the line is going to go down. Okay, so a negative slope is going to go down from left to right. Positive slope goes up from left to right, negative slope goes down from left to right. In example 4 here, they give you a table with some points. Okay? Your first step is always to find the slope. The important thing is here, you can pick any 2 points off this table to use to find the slope. Just like we did in the opening problem there. We took 2 points, we found the slope. Once you have the slope, you can substitute that in for m in y equals mx plus b. Pick one of your points, you can find b, and then go ahead and solve it. So you can see this one comes out to be y equals 2x plus 1 when you go through those steps. Okay, so in this first problem here, we need to graph the line that passes through the following points. So I went ahead and I plotted those 4 points on the graph, as you can see, and I drew a line through them. So there's my line. Part B was to write a slope-intercept equation for the line. That's in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so up by the graph, I did step 1, which was to find the slope. So I picked 2 points. I picked the -1, -4, and I picked the 0, -2 for my 2 points. I labeled them x1, y1, and x2, y2, and I plugged them in to that slope formula and found that my m is 2. So once I know my m is 2, I can use that and one of my points to find b, which is the y-intercept. So I picked my point 0, -2. So for y, I put in the -2. For m, I put in the 2 because that's what I just found it to be. And for x, I put in the 0. And then plus b because I don't know what b is. So when I take 2 times 0, I get 0. So -2 equals 0 plus b. So the 0 doesn't need to be there. So really what you have there is -2 equals b. Once you have the m and the b, the last step is to just go ahead and write the equation. Substitute the 2 in for m, the -2 for b, you get y equals 2x minus 2. Okay, number 2, you needed, again, pick 2 of the points. So I picked -8, 5 for my x1, y1, and I picked 4, -1 for my x2, y2. I plugged those into my slope formula. I found the slope to be -1/2. I picked one of my points. In this case, I picked the 4, -1 to substitute in for x and y in step 2. I put the -1/2 in for m. I solved my b to be 1. So now I know my m is -1/2. I know my b is 1. I can write my equation. So y equals -1/2x plus 1. Now to sketch a graph of the line, remember my y-intercept is 1. So I'm going to go on the y-axis to 1, and I'm going to make a point right there. My slope is -1/2, which means I need to go down 1 and right 2 and make another point. So I went down 1 and right 2, and I made a point. Now I can keep doing that. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. And make as many points as I want to get a good line. Once I do that, I can go ahead and draw my line through there. You can do as many points as you want. Remember, you really only need 2 points to make the line though. So there's my line. I'm going to make sure I put my arrows on it. And we have it graphed. Okay, number 3, if you take a look here, what happened was the student screwed up trying to find the slope. they subtracted the x's in a different order than they did the y's. So 6 is the y2 and 4 is the y1. If you do 6 minus 4, then you have to do 1 minus 5 on the bottom for the x's. They didn't do that, so they ended up with a positive 1/2. It should have been a negative 1/2 for the slope. So that's what they did wrong there. Number 4, if a graph is linear, you could use any 2 points on the line, say y. Well, the line is straight, so the slope is always going to be the same. It doesn't matter which 2 points you use, and it's because the line's straight. Number 5, if a graph is linear and you know its slope and a point on the line, you can find the y-intercept b using any point on the line. Say how you know. Well, we substitute the x and the y for the point into y equals mx plus b. We substitute the slope in there for m. Put those numbers in there and solve for b. Number 6, basically saying the same thing here. If the x and y values for a point make the equation true, that means the point is on the line. So I can go either way. If the point is on the line, it's going to make the equation true. You can look at it that way as well. Okay, and lastly here, if you're given the coordinates of 2 points on a line, how do you write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form? Just keep it to 3 steps. Step 1 is basically you're going to find the slope. You use the coordinates of the 2 points to find the slope. That's your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The second step is pick one of those points and substitute the x and the y value and the m value for slope into y equals mx plus b, and you solve for b. So once you've done steps 1 and 2, you've got your m, you've got your b. Step 3 is to just go ahead and plug the m, your value for m in, and plug your value for b in, and write your equation in the y equals mx plus b form. Okay, make sure you show your notes to a staff member here so you can get your homework, and good luck.